Ahead at 10, a UW plastic surgeon faces a lawsuit. Tonight, details of the shocking claims made by a Wausau woman.
And an important update tonight on the case of a Cottage Grove man whose body was found last month in a Marshall cornfield.
And Foxconn tries to clarify its plans for its Wisconsin facility, how the governor is reacting to the company's latest comments.
This is News 3 at 10.
Thank you for joining us tonight. A UW Health plastic surgeon and his clinic are facing a lawsuit.
Court documents are claiming medical malpractice after a patient says the doctor gave her breast implants larger than the ones she had asked for. Adam Duxter tells us more about the allegations he's facing and what UW Health is saying tonight. Adam?
Well, Eric and Charlotte, this lawsuit claims Dr. John Siebert inappropriately treated a female patient over the course of several months, accusing him of medical negligence and sexual exploitation. But according to the suit, when UW hired him, he was going through a similar investigation already.
A lawsuit filed today claims UW Health plastic surgeon John Siebert placed oversized breast implants in a patient in 2018. The woman from Wausau got a breast enhancement and tummy tuck surgery from Siebert last year. But instead of getting the size 225 implant she requested, she was given size 350. Her attorney says it's unlike anything he's ever seen before.
This is the first time that I have seen a case like this in my career, and I've been doing this for over 30 years. So it may have happened elsewhere in the country, but I'm not aware of it.
According to the lawsuit, Siebert was also negligent with complications that came up after the woman's surgery.
I think a horrible wrong it's my opinion that a horrible wrong has been committed here, and I want to make that right. I think the main theme of this case is that medical healthcare providers have to be forthright with their patients and transparent about these types of things.
During this time, the woman had no idea that Siebert had already been under investigation in 2008, when the New York State Medical Board launched an investigation into an alleged inappropriate conduct he had with a married patient, saying these actions showed a moral unfitness to practice. And that case was still open when UW Health hired Siebert in 2011.
I would like them to change their practices and have a policy where they divulge to their clients these types of situations that are in a doctor's past.
When that case closed, the ruling was that the surgeon had to have a chaperone present in the room anytime he took care of a female patient. It's unclear whether or not that was the case this time around.
And we contacted UW about this lawsuit, and they said they are not able to comment on an ongoing litigation. You can find the full details of the lawsuit on our website, channel3000.com.
Adam Duxter reporting tonight. Adam, thank you.
The death of a Cottage Grove man who was found in a cornfield last month is being investigated as a homicide. The body of 47-year-old Kurt Meyer was found on the morning of January 17th in Marshall. He had been reported missing 5 days prior. Court documents said when officials found him, his right shoe and right sock were next to his body, his pants were unzipped, and his right arm was not in the right sleeve, but instead was inside of his shirt. Search warrants say, quote, based on the position of the body and condition of the clothing, it does not appear the subject died of natural causes.
Pittsburgh police say a missing mother and her infant daughter have been found safe. 24-year-old Lachey Mitchell and her 9-month-old child have been missing since January 24th. And today, police say they were located safe, would not say where they were found. Today, a buffer day of sorts connecting what was that bitter, dangerous cold to much more mild weather this weekend.
We can expect some of that fresh snow outside to melt in the coming days. Let's check in with meteorologist Dave Caulfield with our first alert forecast. Dave?
Well, Charlotte and Eric, we're out of the deep freeze and now we're just, well, in the freeze, and temperatures will actually be above freezing as we get into this weekend. Downtown Madison, the Edgewater Skycam looking at partly cloudy skies right now, 12 degrees, a south-southwest wind at 10 miles per hour, still making it feel like below zero in Madison. Temperatures at 14 in Janesville, 11 in Watertown, 13 in Boscobel, and 10 in Lone Rock and Mineral Point. That's still about 15 to 20 degrees warmer compared to this time yesterday, so any improvement we'll take at this point. Wind chills are below zero in Madison, but slightly above zero in the Dells and Janesville. It does feel like -4 in Platteville right now. Temperatures and winds over the next 12 hours, we'll actually see those temps rise throughout the overnight hours and be in the 20s by tomorrow morning. We could be pushing 30 by about 10 a.m. with a chance of some freezing drizzle early on tomorrow. But then the fog, drizzle, and rain comes to town. We'll track all of that in your First Alert forecast in just a few minutes.
Dave, thanks. And it may seem like a welcome change, but the dramatic shift in temperatures is leading to some flooding concerns for the city.
So now we go from the freezer into the swimming pool.
The city streets division says crews have spent the past few days removing as much ice and snow as possible. There are around 20,000 sewer drains in the city, and they will be confronted with that melting snow, ice, and rain. Officials say all areas of the city are vulnerable, not just the low-lying areas, as issues will arise anywhere that drains are clogged. The Madison School District making up for lost class time after canceling school 4 days this week. A post on the district's Facebook page says they'll now have class next Friday. That day was originally scheduled as a staff-only day, but now will be a full school day for students as well.
All Dane County snowmobile trails will close this weekend in anticipation of the warmer weather. Most will close tomorrow morning at 6. The North Central region will close on Sunday morning at 6. The county says the trails are being closed to help preserve a trail base. Madison water utility crews responded to 23 water main breaks since the recent record-breaking cold weather began to set in this week, according to spokeswoman Amy Barrio. The first break of the week occurred on Monday, and several breaks occurred each day.
And not included in that number was a water main break today on the UW campus at the chemistry building. It is closed until further notice. The building was evacuated early this afternoon. Classes being held inside were canceled. We don't know how bad the damage is, if there is any. Police are asking people to avoid that area. This week, storms and cold weather putting a strain on the Red Cross's blood supply. Several drives were canceled because of severe weather. The agency has issued an emergency call for donors. The Red Cross strives to have a 5-day supply of blood, but currently there is less than a 3-day supply of most blood types on hand. The FBI thanking local law enforcement agencies for their help in recovering a missing 14-year-old girl. That girl, who is from Tennessee, was found safe last night in Madison. She'd been missing for more than 2 weeks. Local agencies, including the Dane County Sheriff's Office, worked with the FBI to locate the girl. Yesterday, the girl's adoptive father was charged with rape, but Tennessee officials do not believe that charge is directly connected to the girl's disappearance. Republican legislative leaders in Wisconsin are thanking President Trump tonight after he stepped in to help with the Foxconn deal.
It's a deal that has Governor Tony Evers calling for coherent messaging. Taiwanese tech company Foxconn now says it will build LCD screens in Racine County, changing course from what company officials told Reuters earlier this week. Trump tweeted today calling it great news for Wisconsin and saying he spoke with the Foxconn chairman. Speaker Robin Vos and Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald thanked the president today for his commitment to state workers. Governor Evers says despite the confusion, he does believe Foxconn is committed to the state.
As the economy is apparently changing from their worldview, that they have to make some changes. That's understandable, but we have to make sure that the transparency is there, and that's something that we believe is so important and will continue to work on.
Foxconn is reaffirming its commitment to creating 13,000 jobs in Wisconsin, but it is still unclear if that will happen. About 4,000 General Motors workers are about to lose their jobs. Layoffs start Monday. They're part of a 15% reduction in white-collar jobs in North America. The car company first announced the layoffs back in November, along with plans to close 4 U.S. plants and 1 in Canada. It's all part of ongoing cost reductions to free up $6 billion a year to invest in new car technology like electric and self-driving vehicles.
Apple says FaceTime will be safe to use again next week. The company issued a statement today saying a software update that patches a security flaw in the app will be rolled out next week. The bug allowed callers using FaceTime to access recipients' microphones and cameras without them picking up the call. Well, here's something to help warm you up. Summerfest in Milwaukee announces one of its headliners for this summer's festival. The Zac Brown Band will play Sunday, June 30th. Tickets will go on sale next Friday, February 8th at 10 a.m. Still ahead tonight, a widening field. Another Democrat enters the 2020 presidential race.
And out on Lake Mendota, a winter tradition makes a comeback. We'll take you there when we come back.
The job market fired up to start the new year. According to the Labor Department, employers added 304,000 jobs in January, nearly double the expectations. Gains were made across a variety of industries from hospitality to healthcare to transportation, but the nation's unemployment rate rose to 4% due to the impact of the partial government shutdown. The 2020 presidential election still more than a year away, but the race to the White House is already heating up.
Another Democrat threw his hat into the ring today. From the front yard of his home in Newark, New Jersey, Cory Booker announced he's running for president of the United States on a platform of inclusion. The 49-year-old senator chose this day to announce because it is the first day of Black History Month. He chose this location to highlight his reality. He says he's the only U.S. senator who goes home to a low-income inner-city community.
I'm not looking even to simplistically to beat Republicans. No, I'm looking to unite Americans in this race.
Booker was the mayor of Newark for 7 years. He joins a historically diverse and already crowded field of Democrats, a big change from 2016 when only a handful ran for the party's nomination.
Today, the Trump administration announced it is pulling out of a Cold War-era nuclear arms treaty effective in October. The U.S. and Russia signed the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty back in 1987, banning nuclear weapons capable of destroying Europe within minutes. The U.S. claims Russia has been building and testing intermediate-range missiles in violation of that treaty since 2014. Russia denies the claims and says the U.S. has been looking for a reason to withdraw from the treaty. The White House says it is open to new talks. President Trump will give his State of the Union address next Tuesday. Another partial government shutdown could come in 2 weeks, and Americans are looking for clues on the president's next move.
Face the Nation host Margaret Brennan interviewed President Trump at length today. CBS News' Natalie Brand reports from the White House.
President Trump says there's a good chance he'll declare a national emergency to get funding for the southern border wall.
Actually, having a national emergency does help the process. You'll hear the State of the Union, and then you'll see what happens right after the State of the Union, okay?
Thursday, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said there'd be no money for the wall in a deal currently being negotiated by Congress.
There's not going to be any wall money in the legislation.
But Pelosi has left the door open for strategic fencing along the border. The president has repeatedly said that the 17-member congressional committee working on a deal is wasting its time without wall funding. The president says the main reason Democrats are blocking the funding is politics.
They think it's good politics for 2020 because they say maybe we can beat Trump.
But Democratic Senator Patrick Leahy, who's on the bipartisan conference committee, says he thinks a deal can be reached.
We have very, very good people, Republicans and Democrats, on the committee conference. Our staffs are working through this weekend. I'm going to stay around.
The president says that a lot of the wall is already being built using money left over from past appropriations. Congress and President Trump have until February 15th to reach a deal to avoid another partial government shutdown. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
More of Margaret Brennan's interview with the president will air on Face the Nation Sunday and during CBS pregame Super Bowl coverage Sunday afternoon.
As much of the U.S. finally thaws out from this week's bitter cold, people in Australia are sweating in record heat. It is summer there, of course. They've never had such a scorching start to the year. The country just had its warmest January ever. The South Australian capital Adelaide hit a high of 116 degrees last week. Climatologists warn the severe heat is unprecedented. Australia just experienced its third hottest year on record in 2018. Only 2005 and 2013 were warmer. A decades-old tradition making a comeback out on Lake Mendota. The Statue of Liberty tradition started as a prank back in 1979 when two students promised they would bring the Statue of Liberty to Madison if elected to the Wisconsin Student Association. Before now, the Statue of Liberty was last seen on Lake Mendota in 2010.
I think for a lot of people, this is a tradition that is so deep-seated in UW-Madison lore that getting to see this and getting to be a part of it again after all these years, I hope will really be something extraordinary, an opportunity for Badgers and UW-Madison students, alumni, faculty, anybody who's been at this university to come together to celebrate something that's really very distinctly UW-Madison.
The Union team is hoping to make Lady Liberty on Lake Mendota an annual winter carnival attraction.
And it's hard to believe that some of that snow is going to be melting away this weekend after this past week. Meteorologist Dave Caulfield joins us now with a look at your weekend first alert forecast. Hi, Dave.
Well, hey, Charlotte. And my only fear this weekend with temperatures warming up and the fog that's going to come in is if people will be able to see Lady Liberty. Hopefully the fog won't be too thick on Lake Mendota. And temperatures today were definitely an improvement. This is one of those situations where if you're maybe studying for a test and you get a really bad grade to start, and then maybe the second time you get a better grade, but still room for improvement. That's where we are right now. We're kind of in the middle, but still 15 degrees never felt so good outside for the high in Madison. 18 in Janesville, 16 the high in Lone Rock. Now, typically for February, since it is the first of the month, we start off with highs in the upper 20s. By the end of the month, we're in the mid 30s for average high temperatures, but we've been as cold as minus 29. We know a little bit about that over the last couple of days in Madison, and as warm as 64 back in 2000. And on an average month, we typically get about 10 inches of snow and 1.5 inches of rain or liquid equivalent precipitation. Now, downtown Madison, the Edgewater Skycam, no precipitation to talk about right now with mostly cloudy skies. Today's high still about 15 degrees below normal, but we'll take it. And temperatures continue to warm this weekend. Right now, we're in the low teens, even some single digits showing up just to the north of Madison. 11 in Watertown, 10 in Mineral Point and Platteville. But we notice that warmer air, that southerly flow, helping to bring that warmer air up from spots that are a little bit warmer than we are right now. And we'll notice some big changes this weekend. But with the wind chill, still does feel like below zero in Madison, Mineral Point and Platteville. Not too much wind right now in Boscobel. Now, Doppler track is quiet at the present time. We did have a few flurries early this morning, but a little bit of rain, maybe even some fog, freezing drizzle possible this weekend, especially early tomorrow when temperatures are still below freezing. After that, the rain becomes a little bit more likely, and not the snow, which we've seen a fair amount of over the past month or so, still about a foot on the ground in much of southern Wisconsin. And last year at this time, as far as snow goes, just about 14 inches. And we more than doubled that at this time this year. So we're still about 2 inches of snow behind schedule, but pretty close to where we should be. I think the next chance of some accumulating snow arrives next week by about Tuesday or Wednesday. But for the next couple of days, it's more likely that we see rain rather than snow with temperatures like this, a roller coaster of temperatures, if you will, reaching the peak at about 46 on Monday and then down to 15 again by Friday. Wisconsin, you can't beat it, folks. Tonight, temperatures will hang out in the mid-teens, becoming mostly cloudy, and those temperatures rising late. Much milder tomorrow with fog, freezing drizzle possible early, then bouts of some drizzle and light rain as we get into the later portions of Saturday. So you see the clouds on the increase on future track and some blips of green possible by the time we get to later on Saturday and for Sunday. Nothing too heavy, which is good news. Maybe on Monday, some more substantial rain comes our way, but you can see on future track visibility, the fog really settles into southern Wisconsin, really doesn't want to let go for much of this weekend. So while we'll have the nice and mild temperatures, especially compared to where we've been, the weather overall is not necessarily as nice as the temperatures might suggest. And then by the time we get into Tuesday and Wednesday, that's when our next chance of some accumulating snow comes our way, with temperatures back in the upper 20s and low 30s. So it's a wild ride for the next week or so.
But that's okay, because they're all double digits and above.
Yes, we've gotten through the worst of it, I think.
All right, we can handle this now. No
Thank
problem.
you, Dave. We appreciate that. It is the Top 25 Showdown at the Kohl Center as Maryland visits the Badgers. Whiteout tonight on campus. The story coming up in sports.
It's a whiteout at the Kohl Center tonight as the 24th ranked Wisconsin men's basketball team plays 21st ranked Maryland. Now, the Badgers were trailing most of the first half, but they get a boost going into halftime. Brevin Pritzel, corner three. Still 36-31 Maryland at half. But second half, here comes Wisconsin. Brad Davison hit a couple big threes. This one put the Badgers up 54-52 midway, well, with 6 minutes left in the game. And Ethan Happ only 6 of 12 from the free throw line, but there's a lot more to his game than that. Here's a big and one late. Happ scores 18 points, gets 10 rebounds to help the Badgers get their 5th straight win. Final score, Wisconsin is 69, Maryland 61. The Badgers had only 4 turnovers in the game. They're now in 4th place in the Big Ten. Next up for Wisconsin, a trip to Minnesota Wednesday night at 8 at Williams Arena. Pretty big surprise in Big Ten men's basketball tonight. 5th-ranked Michigan goes to Iowa and loses to the Hawkeyes. Luka Garza scores 19 points, has 8 rebounds, and the fans who have been cooped up inside all week because of the cold in Iowa City get their release and storm the court. Final score, Iowa 74, Michigan 59. Badger hockey teams both on the road this weekend. Tony Granado's men's team is at Michigan State. It's a tough start to the weekend. Patrick Kodorenko scores the first 2 goals of the game, and Michigan State is off and running. And the final score there is Michigan State 4, Wisconsin 1. Ty Emberson got the only Badger goal. Game 2 of the series tomorrow afternoon, 4:30 in East Lansing. And the number 1 ranked Badger women's hockey team loses at Bemidji State. Lydia Passold scored a power play goal in the 3rd period to hand the Badgers only their 4th loss of the season. Steve Stricker's weekend at the Phoenix Open is a short one. Stricker shot even par 71 today to finish the first 2 rounds at 1 over par. That will just miss the cut. Stricker says he's going to be playing in a few more regular PGA Tour events, especially early in the season, to see how his game stacks up at age 51. The next Prep Mania game of the week is Tuesday night when Monroe, ranked 10th in the state in Division II, plays at 2nd-ranked Winona Grove. That's Tuesday night, 7:15 p.m., live on channel3000.com. When they play the Super Bowl Sunday at 5:30 here on Channel 3, don't be surprised if another former Wisconsin running back makes a lot of plays. James White had another big year for the New England Patriots. He's the latest in a long line of UW running backs making an impact in the NFL.
I mean, the coaches do a great job of finding good talent. There's always a great offensive line. And, I mean, the run schemes are just great. And you know you're going to touch the ball a bunch as a running back. And I said all the running backs that go through there just try and capitalize on the opportunities that they get.
Matt LaFleur's Packers coaching staff is nearly complete today. Sean Menninga is named the special teams coach. Menninga was the special teams coach with the Cleveland Browns for 7 years before spending last season at Vanderbilt. The Packers special teams were ranked last in the NFL last season under Ron Zook. And former Packer Julius Pepperson announced his retirement from the NFL after 17 seasons. Peppers played for Carolina, Chicago, and Green Bay and is ranked 4th all-time in sacks with 159.5. He's expected to be a first-ballot Hall of Famer when he's eligible in 5 years. Peppers was with the Packers for 3 seasons, had 25 sacks in 48 games. And we'll be right back.
Dave joins us with a final check of your forecast.
Temperatures still cold. I mean, they're much better than where they have been. But we're in the teens in Madison, 11 in Watertown, 10 in Lone Rock and Mineral Point. But these temperatures will actually be rising overnight as a warm front gets closer and closer. We're actually near 30 degrees by tomorrow morning, but the fog will be in town for much of this weekend. Also some rain, some drizzle, even some freezing drizzle possible early tomorrow. I don't think that will be a big deal, and the rain really won't be significant until we get to Monday, where there's a little bit more substantial rain. Highs in the 40s, though, for the next couple of days.
All right, Dave, thanks. Thanks for joining us for News 3 at 10.
Do something good and have a great weekend.
Making plans that are weather dependent? Get an accurate 12-hour, even a 10-day forecast. Download the Channel 3000 First Alert Weather app and start planning.